Those who could benefit from this information include the parents of young children between the ages of 1 and 7. It is important for parents to understand what is considered normal development during this time so that they can be aware of any possible issues that may come up. Some studies discuss differences in gender, so those parents that have both boys and girls could also find this information helpful when observing these differences during their children's development.
In a 1994 article by Garcia C., she studies the importance of interaction with the environment while children are completing the fundamental motor patterns period. She looked at 20 preschool children, 12 boys and 8 girls with a mean average of about 4.2 years old. By the age of 3, gender identity is firmly established, and boys often have a competitive, individualized, and egocentric manner, while girls have a cooperative, caring, and sharing manner. This article tests these characteristics during the fundamental motor pattern period and discusses the implications they may have on development. In order to test the cooperative, caring, and sharing characteristics of girls, an activity was made that required the girls to catch and toss a ball to each other. During this skill, when one girl would miss the ball, her face would turn pale with embarrassment, and the other girls would help her feel better by purposefully missing the ball in order to help their friend cope with her lower ability level. The other girls didn't want to show their ability was better than their friends. The boys tested their competitive, individualized, and egocentric characteristic by running down the hall and running in large circles. While the boys were running, they wanted to show their best ability and compare it to each other's to prove that they were the best and most important. The results of this study shows that the social interaction that the preschool girls wanted could be a limiting factor in the learning of fundamental motor skills when individual or competitive games were a focus of the activity. But with boys, the individual and competitive games proved to be good when learning fundamental motor skills. But when asked to choose a partner, they did not want to choose another student. They would often misbehave because they form a stronger connection with the object than with the person. The lack of skill practice can play a critical role in the development of movement for girls. During the fundamental motor pattern, girls do not practice motor skills when they feel intimidated by boys, and the cooperativeness and willingness to help each other actually cuts out of the practice time. This places girls at a disadvantage while learning fundamental motor skills.
So now we're going to talk about another study that was done by Gladys Baseman, who studied the effect of rhythmic accompaniment upon learning fundamental motor skills. So this study was done back in 1964, and it consisted of 607 boys and girls who were in grades 1 through 6. And these children were given pre-test and post-test assessments of the development of these fundamental motor skills such as balance, climbing, jumping, striking. And for this experiment, they taught these children, and one group was the children that learned it with the rhythmic accompaniment, and the other group was learning it without it. And the results of this experiment proved that those children who learned it with the rhythmic accompaniment learned faster and better with the accompaniment than the children who learn without. And this can help parents because if a parent wants the children to develop early or fast, then they can just find someone who teaches like this and help their children learn.
Another study that discusses the fundamental motor period examines the effect of fundamental motor skills on adolescent fitness. Measures were taken 6 years apart. Children were first measured on object control skills and locomotor skills. These skills were classified as mastered, near mastered, or poor depending on how many consistent repetitions the child performed out of 5. They were then tested 6 years later using the PACER test to determine cardiovascular fitness levels. The results of this study indicate that childhood object control skills positively correlate with adolescent fitness and the involvement of sports that promote fitness. There were some gender differences noted in that boys had higher scores both during childhood and adolescence. The study shows the importance of the fundamental motor period in living an overall healthy and active life.
We hope this video will help parents of children from about 1 to 7 years old learn what is occurring during the fundamental motor patterns period in both boys and girls.